Today, Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. Coming up in the news, Cliff Road project nears completion, and Inland Revenue Division extends tax deadline to April 30th. Regionally, Caribbean Airlines denies rumors of closure. Internationally, UN Security Council hosts emergency meeting on peacekeeper deaths in Lebanon. And in sports, Grenada prepares for Carifta with departure and new athlete initiative. The first segment comes to you compliments Bryden and Miners.
Get ready for the explosive energy of the 53rd Carifta Games. The Caribbean's brightest young stars are descending on Grenada for 3 days of pure speed, power, and passion. From the first block start to the final relay leg, witness the future of world athletics right here in the Karate James Athletic Stadium. When? April 4th to the 6th. It's time to feel the passion, celebrate the performances, grab your flag, and follow the action live on GBN television.
GBN's broadcast of Carifta 2026 is made possible by Grenlec.
After significant delays, the Cliff Road is expected to finally become motorable by the end of April. This announcement was made at today's press briefing hosted by officials of the Ministry of Infrastructure. According to Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, additional minor works will be completed by the end of May.
I think if you visit the site, you'll see that, I would say finally, there has been substantial progress on the work, and so we are optimistic that during this month the road will become motorable, but there are additional completion works which will probably take us into the month of May.
In relation to Cloget, the Prime Minister said redesigns of the project have been completed and negotiations are ongoing with contractors, with work expected to proceed within 1 to 2 weeks. Among other areas discussed were plans to repair and enhance infrastructure in St. George's. The Prime Minister pointed to limited access to asphalt and contractors, as well as aging road foundations that have been repeatedly patched over the years. He also noted that some repairs must be carefully timed due to upcoming pipework. Authorities say efforts are underway to improve capacity, including reopening quarry operations and expanding road repair resources.
Certainly in terms of downtown itself, I think maintenance of the slabs and the roads are part of what we will look at as well, and you'd see that some of this has been ongoing. For example, widening the old Fort Toluca Street entrance was done because of the bottleneck that it poses. But as I said, one of the main challenges we've had with asphalt work in particular is the lack of asphalt contractors, as well as the lack of asphalt itself, because the only quarry we have operating right now is the Mount Atman quarry. We are making efforts to get the quarry and telescope reopened. Once that happens, I think it will give us greater capacity to be able to have asphalt, particularly hot mix on island, that will allow us to better repair the routes. We now have the pothole patcher, and that should give us significantly better capacity to also address some of the potholes that we have had to encounter.
Beyond roadworks, the government is also looking at a broader plan to revitalize St. George's, including restoring historic buildings and improving infrastructure across the capital. Meanwhile, in light of the recent appearance of dead fish and excessive vegetation in the St. Johns River, Chief Technical Officer Kimon Andrews reassured that efforts to clean the river began yesterday and are set to continue today.
Well, regards to the Ministry of Health is still conducting the investigation. We would have also mobilized the contractor yesterday. He would start at the river mouth. Actually, he did start yesterday at the river mouth. He's going to open it. Today they're going to move further along, closer to the Humpback Bridge, to start removing some of the dead fish from the water.
Also in local news, in a move to give taxpayers more time to fulfill their obligations, the Inland Revenue Division has extended the deadline for filing and paying taxes to April 30th. That's a deadline extension for filing and paying personal income tax, corporate income tax, and annual stamp tax. Taxpayers are still encouraged to file and pay their taxes as early as possible to avoid last-minute delays and penalties. And finally, the Royal Grenada Police Force is advising motorists of the continuation of a temporary road closure along the Grand Anse Public Road to facilitate road repair works near the Silver Sands Hotel. The affected section runs from the Gulf Course intersection to the Food Fair traffic light and will be closed today, Wednesday, April 1st from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. During this time, no vehicles will be allowed to travel north from the Food Fair intersection or south from the Gulf Course intersection. Motorists will be diverted through the Montoute and Gulf Course roads via Carland Park. Residents in the immediate area will have limited access from the Food Fair direction only. That concludes our first segment. Regional news is up next. The second segment comes to you compliments Fortune Foods Limited. Regional news, Caribbean Airlines denies rumors of closure. More details in this OCM report.
Caribbean Airlines category. And stable footing. The Sunday Guardian reported CAL is seeking a financial bailout from the Kamla-Persad-Bissessar government to counter the rising costs of fuel as a result of the Middle East war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran and its impact on the carrier's operational costs. The paper said it understood that the CAL board had put forward several options to the Ministry of Finance during a meeting 2 weeks ago to cushion the airline, including the introduction of a fuel surcharge on tickets, the removal of the subsidy on the air bridge, an increase in the overall cost of tickets, and a further slashing of lower revenue routes. GML said the airline is also seeking further financial support from the state, quoting sources as saying this could come in the form of $1 billion debt write-off. The GML, quoting from the 2026 budget document, details of estimates of recurrent expenditure dated March 24. $626.84 million on the local loans, and that the sum is triple the revised allocation for the principal repayment of $200.8 million in fiscal 2025. In its statement, CAL said it is aware of recent public discussions following a media report and that the airline wanted to reassure customers, partners, and stakeholders that operations continue as normal. The Democratic Labour Party is raising serious concerns about what it describes as a growing health crisis in schools across Barbados, warning that conditions are putting students and staff at risk. Speaking on the issue, Education spokesperson Quincy Jones said the situation has reached an unacceptable level and he is calling for immediate national audits.
We can see that little to no progress has been made. St. Bartholomew Primary, St. Paul's Primary, Charles F. Brooms, Mount Tabor, Hilda Skeen, and Christchurch Girls. Different schools, same troubling issues. The Democratic Labour Party is calling for urgent action in 3 key areas. First, a national schools environmental audit with immediate inspections to identify and address health risks across every school. Second, a targeted infrastructure upgrade plan, fix ventilations, modernize facilities, and rebuild where necessary. And finally, third, a clear national health and safety protocol so schools, ministries, and parents know exactly how to respond when issues arise.
Education spokesperson Quincy Jones. Rising global tensions and the threat of soaring oil prices are casting uncertainty over St. Lucia's economic outlook. Prime Minister Philip J. Payne has warned that these developments could place added strain on the nation's budget as the country navigates external economic pressures.
I'm very concerned that oil becomes $200 a barrel and causes me great budgetary issues in St. Lucia. The next 3 weeks, I hope it can remain the same. But in the budget statement on 21st, I'm going to be telling the public of St. Lucia that I have to remove the cap on oil prices at $16. Because that was a cap that we placed. But because of fluctuations, I have to be honest and truthful to the people of St. Lucia and tell them we're not sure, but it can remain at that line.
Prime Minister Pierce said on Monday the increases will not only put a strain on St. Lucia's finances, but would also trickle down to consumers, affecting the costs of living.
That price is around $16. But as I said, we had kept the price at $16, and that gave us a little buffer. So we could carry it for probably another 3 weeks, another 6 weeks, we may be able to carry it. Right? So I'm hoping that the fluctuations don't get so erratic. Like I'm hoping. But we hope we can keep it. I think that, as I tell you, the price of oil, the price of fuel is going to be the same. Coming, when is it? This week? When is it? This week? No, it's a week. Next week. The price is going to be $16. I can tell you that, sure, it's going to be $16 a gallon.
In the meantime, he is telling consumers to focus on what they can control.
The second segment came to you compliments Fortune Foods Limited. Stay with us for international news and sports.
Have you heard about the new soft
Get ready for the explosive energy of the 53rd Carifta Games. The Caribbean's brightest young stars are descending on Grenada for 3 days of pure speed, power, and passion. From the first block start to the final relay leg, witness the future of world athletics right here.
International news. The United Nations Security Council has held an emergency meeting on the situation in Lebanon. It came hours after 3 peacekeepers were killed in the south of the country. The UN says it's investigating the attacks, and perpetrators are yet to be identified. We'll get more details in this Al Jazeera report.
The killing of peacekeepers in Lebanon must stop immediately. That was the main message from Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of UN peacekeeping operations, during an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. He also told the Council the blue helmets in southern Lebanon are under intense duress, caught in the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah. The UN says it's investigating the attacks that killed the 3 Indonesian peacekeepers and said the perpetrators have yet to be identified. Israel's ambassador to the UN told the Security Council Hezbollah was responsible, but provided no evidence to back up the claim, only saying it's a dangerous, active war zone, to which the Indonesian ambassador said this.
The current escalation did not arise in vacuum. It stems from repeated incursions by the Israeli military into the territory of Lebanon.
French personnel who work with the peacekeepers also are under attack.
Israeli soldiers have shown an aggressive attitude, carried out intimidation, and attacked the security of the personnel of the French contingent at a time when deconfliction procedures had been duly respected.
Also in international news, Gulf allies of the United States, led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, are reportedly urging President Donald Trump to continue prosecuting the war against Iran, arguing that Tehran hasn't been weakened enough by the month-long U.S.-led bombing campaign. That's according to U.S., Gulf, and Israeli officials. More details in this France 24 report.
A full month of war, and some want more. But a glance behind the scenes paints an entirely different picture. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait and Bahrain are all reportedly urging the United States to continue the war against Iran. Speaking on condition of anonymity, officials from each country say that their authorities want to see bigger changes to Iran's leadership or in its conduct before the conflict comes to an end. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are said to be particularly eager, with the latter even pushing for a ground invasion. This comes despite continued attacks from Iran, which has launched thousands of drones at its neighbours since the beginning of the war. Gulf countries had at first complained about a lack of warning from the United States ahead of its first attacks, but are now hoping to see a deal that will best guarantee their security.
That's it for international news. Stay with us for sports. In sports, Grenada's athletes are heading into the Carifta competition with both momentum and added support. The national swim team has departed for the 39th Carifta Aquatic Championships in Martinique, aiming to deliver strong performances and medal-winning results. The team is led by coach Justin Steele and includes swimmers competing across multiple age groups, with some also set to feature in open water events. Meanwhile, local athletes preparing for the Carifta Games are benefiting from a new initiative focused on mental wellness. The Awe Hub, a relaxation and support space, has been officially opened at the National Cricket Stadium, where athletes are currently in camp. The facility offers a calm environment with games, reading materials, and stretch areas to help athletes stay focused and manage pressure. Officials say the initiative highlights a growing emphasis on athlete well-being as Grenada continues its Carifta preparations. That's all for sports. Now for a recap of today's headlines. There's completion, and Inland Revenue Division extends tax deadline to April 30th. Regionally, Caribbean Airlines denies rumors of closure. Internationally, UN Security Council hosts emergency meeting on peacekeeper deaths in Lebanon. And in sports, Grenada prepares for Carifta with departure and a new athlete initiative. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Diedra Sealey, thanking you for joining us.